because I'm worried about being unlovable. I'm worried about people not wanting me or not liking me. Those are my characteristics. They're things that I have to cope with and work with. So when my kids need space, I have to remember they're not telling me that they don't love me. They just need space. It was 2018 when we announced that we were separating. The sadness that they went through and trying, the sadness I was going through, that their dad was going through, and, we had to figure out how to help them process. I remember sitting them down and telling them that we were separating, and the two oldest immediately started crying. They figured it out. They understood. They were older. We made the decision that because our oldest was in grade 8, we were going to remain in the family household, but we would split up duties and start getting them familiar with the idea of not having both parents all the time. The youngest was emotional, but still trying to process some of that information. In hindsight, I don't think that was the best solution for the kids. It didn't make it that much easier. It was actually more confusing. They couldn't understand why we wouldn't just all hang out together at night. Hi, and welcome back to 50s Unscripted, Embracing My Second Act. My name is Shelley, and I am so excited that you came back and that you are here for this next episode. Welcome, and I hope you've been enjoying it. The purpose of these is just to share my lived experiences, my lessons learned, and hopefully provide you an opportunity to see other ways of doing things, other things that I've done. Realize you're not alone, that we all struggle, we all have different experiences, but hopefully give a little support and resonate with those of you who have gone through similar experiences, or maybe give you another option to try if you're not sure what to do right now. Today, I want to keep talking about kids and the changes that we all experience with parenting as they get older, and probably, really thinking about it, what it's like when you go from being called mama, dada, to mummy, daddy, to mom, to dad, to hey, bruh. Well, my kids don't call me that, but you know where I'm going with it, where it gets very different and all the slang's coming out. Times changed, the technology's changed. I was born before the internet was invented. So, things are very different than when I was a kid. Yes, I am 52 years young, and I'm happy about that. But things are different when you're raising your own kids, and technology and social media. There's so many different things now for our kids out there. When our kids are born, we start off doing everything for them. We're feeding them, we're getting them dressed, we're taking them to their doctor's appointments, we're playing with them. Like, everything is decided by us until they hit a certain age. And then all of a sudden, they start to show that independence. And that one day you go to get them dressed and they're like, no, I do. Okay, yes, you do. You put on your shoes. They put them on the wrong feet. Oh, great job. Can we change the feet? No. All right, let me know when we can change it. So you go through that, and then it's the, picking out their clothes and putting on their shoes and brushing their teeth and brushing their own hair, and then having to help them brush their hair because they've left the knots in there. The more they grow, the more independence and responsibility they want to take on. And as they get older, we start looking for them to help out around the house. So it's cleaning and chores and stuff like that. When they're younger, they're telling us everything. Some days we're sitting there going, oh my gosh, please take a breath, because they're talking so much and they don't stop. And then they start to talk about things that are different. So it goes from being everything that we're used to and we've been showing them to all the things that their personality is starting to show through. So the music they like, the movies they like, the books they're interested in, the people they're talking to. You start to see that personality show up, and everything starts to change. Not only are their interests changing, but so are their activities. They're in more sports. They're wanting to do dance. They're wanting to do drama. They're wanting to horseback ride, whatever it may be. There's something new that they want to do. And in addition to all this, their emotions are changing. They're trying to figure out their place in the world, and they're trying to find out how to handle communicating how they feel. And some of it is testing boundaries to see how much they can get away with it. But some of it is just processing what's happening in life. One of my daughters, I remember, suddenly got very picky on the food. Nothing could touch. Textures would set her off. And that was it was like, what do you mean? Just eat it. It's all the same. No, they're touching. I can't have it. Oh my goodness. So, finding those little plates to divide it up or whatever. I remember a meal that I prepared 1,000 times. Like I feel like I cooked it all the time. It was their favorite dish. And one day I sit it down and one of my daughters looks at me and goes, this is gross. I'm not eating this. I'm like, but you've eaten it all the time. It's your favorite dish. No, I hate this. I don't like this at all. What do you mean? I never liked this. What are you talking about? Well, okay, let's go back to the drawing board and figure out what other meals we can cook. As they get older and they're exploring those emotions, you've got slamming doors, increased arguments with siblings, you get the rudeness and the talk back and the attitude. And I know this paints a picture. They're not always like that. There is niceness too. But we do start to see some of this bubble up as they're having bad days. And as a parent, your first reaction is, hey, we don't speak to grownups like that. You don't talk to me like that. I'm your mother. What are you doing, right? Or, you watch how you talk to me. And then there's times where they wouldn't get ready. Like how many of you have experienced this? I don't know how many times. We had a, 2-story house and we had one of those open living rooms. So it went up, like the stairways went up and the kids were upstairs and I'm down in the kitchen and I'd come out so that I was in the living room so I could yell up the stairs and I'd be like, why are you not downstairs yet? You need to eat breakfast. I'm getting dressed. What do you mean? You've been up there for 30 minutes. I had to change my outfit. It's fine. Get down. You have to eat. I'm not hungry. And you're having this argument, yelling back and forth, trying to get them downstairs. And then they finally get downstairs and they eat and they rush and you're trying to get out the door. And suddenly one of them's running back up the stairs. I'm like, what are you doing? I forgot something. What did you forget? Oh, it's a toy or a book. You're not taking that to school. No, I'm going to leave it at daycare. No, you're not. You're not taking it to daycare either. Leave it here. No, I need to bring it. No, you're not. Well, other people bring theirs. Yeah. And if other people jumped off a bridge, would you? Maybe. Right? You've got this whole conversation going on. And it's hard. It's a lot. And it's trying on our emotions too. And it's difficult to sometimes manage all that and get them going. And as they get older, those debates and like those were all minor compared to what you can get into later on as it's like, well, why can't I do this? Or why are you saying no? Why can't I go to that place? What's your reason? Well, that makes no sense. And you start to get that challenge and it's suddenly going, okay, well, what am I supposed to say now? And for me, the hardest started when, they were no longer in daycare and they were in school. And it was 2018 when we announced that we were separating. The sadness that they went through and trying, the sadness I was going through, that their dad was going through. And, we had to figure out how to help them process. I remember sitting them down and telling them that we were separating. And the two oldest immediately started crying. They figured it out. They understood. They were older. The youngest was emotional, but still trying to process some of that information. We made the decision that because our oldest was in grade 8, we were going to remain in the family household, but we would split up duties and start getting them familiar with the idea of not having both parents all the time. So one week he would be in charge of everything. So he would make sure they got to school. He would help them with their lunches. He would cook suppers. He would do the groceries. And the second week I would take over. During your off week, you lived downstairs. We had a finished basement, so one person would be downstairs, but we'd still come up and have dinner together. We thought that was best. It would be good. In hindsight, I don't think that was the best solution for the kids. It didn't make it that much easier. It was actually more confusing. They couldn't understand why we wouldn't just all hang out together at night. And we didn't stop them from going down to see the other parent, right? So it made it harder. So it brought a lot more emotions to the forefront. And then that caused issues, right? Because we're going through our own emotions, we're dealing with things. And I found I became more anxious. And as a result, my boundaries weren't as strict as they used to be. And I started kind of overcompensating to ensure that everyone was happy. When we moved out into separate houses, it got even harder because then you've got the back and forth. So if they had a disagreement with one of their siblings right before coming over to your house, you're blind. You're trying to solve whatever the issue is or whatever the dilemma is. If they had a fight with the other parent, you're kind of blind because you don't know what's going on. And you're like, well, we're different people. We were different people and managed differently when we were in the house together. Why would you think it would change when we're living in two different houses? Like your mom and dad haven't changed. We just don't live in the same house anymore, but we still have the same way of dealing with stuff and coping and things and trying to balance that and help them adjust. And there were a lot of times where, they're stomping up the stairs and slamming doors and you can hear them and you're yelling up the stairs going, I can still hear every word you're muttering. And they're like, I don't care. And, you get into these arguments and you get into these debates and the frustration, and it makes it difficult. And then as a parent, you're trying to manage that because sometimes they're like, can I come home early? Well, no, we have a custody agreement. Like, you have to stay at your dad's. And then eventually we started like, okay, no, if they want to come home early, they can. And how do we do this? But it's hard, and you're trying to balance all that. And never mind how much COVID further complicated all of that. And I'm not talking about that now because that was just overwhelming, but that just added to all those emotions and that angst. I think I'd mentioned in a previous podcast, I had the opportunity to do a parenting course recently, which I wish I had taken long before. And it was good because it helped dealing with how to deal with emotions in your teenage kids and get that support. And doing these programs and learning these techniques were really helpful. So there are a few things that I wish that I had known long before now, but I'm using them now, and that's good. One of the big things, and we do this all the time at work. So think about it at work. When you need to talk to somebody and find out what the business need is, or what your employees need, or what your manager wants, you have to engage active listening. You have to sit back and actually listen. Not think about, what you're going to cook for supper, not think about what you're going to respond with. You have to actually actively listen to what they're doing. How are they sitting? How are they presenting themselves? What emotions are they letting off? And knowing that I can listen and apologize when I don't do that without taking accountability. So I'm not to blame for whatever issue they're dealing with, but learning to apologize when I don't let them express their emotions, or when I've, helped them not the way they wanted. Again, I'm not accepting responsibility, but I'm acknowledging that, hey, I know I didn't do that quite the way you wanted. Here's how we want to work through it. I had to learn that my role was changed and I wasn't there to solve everything. They don't want to hear what my solution is to fixing it. They don't want to hear what my experiences were like and what I did in those circumstances. They just want to share how they're feeling. They want to ask, if they want to ask for help, they're going to ask for help. But it's just, they want a chance to voice that. It's not about telling them, like I said, what I did or how I dealt with it or how their sister dealt with it. So for example, if one of your kids comes home and says, I hate math, it sucks, it's the worst class ever, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I'm stupid, I can never learn it, rather than jumping in and trying to do all that, oh, you're not stupid, what are you talking about, just you need to try harder or something. It's more about, sorry to hear that math is really that difficult. It's hard to learn new things, and especially if it's not your favorite subject and you have a hard time with numbers. How can you get extra help, or what could help you cope with this? Turn it into a question and find that way to communicate. If you know that your child has a learning disability, acknowledging that for them and letting them know, yeah, you're right, it is hard. We don't have to tell them, get over it. That's not the way to help them, right? It's acknowledging that their emotions are legit. Sometimes we won't know what to say. And guess what? That's okay too. And I heard this at one of the parent groups I went to. And so I did ask my youngest what she thought about it. So I'm going to share it with you, and then I'll tell you what her reaction was to it. So when you don't know what to say, they come home and they're upset because they had a fight with a friend, or they didn't like something the teacher said, and you really don't know what to say. You don't know what the right answer is. Wow, that sounds really upsetting. No wonder you're so upset right now. I'm not sure what you need from me. So I'm going to give you a couple options and you tell me what you want. Do you want me to just listen? Do you need a hug or emotional support? Or do you want advice? So I presented that when I heard it from one of the other parents. I thought it was really cool. So I presented it to my youngest, and I asked her, and she loved it. She's like, that type of answer makes me feel like you're listening to me. So find ways to communicate that allows them to express themselves and still keep you as part of it. As I said, I didn't I took this in a course. It was really good. And there are lots of different courses you can take on how emotional support for dealing with teens. These ones were through the Lake Ridge Health System. And when I talked about apologies earlier, one of the things that I use this for is when I put on that mom hat. I try to people please. I try to fix everything. I want to find solutions. And sometimes I'm having a day. And my daughter texts me and complains about something, and I jump in with 30,000 solutions, and I hear it in the text. I can hear it as plain as day. I wasn't asking for advice, or fine, I'll talk to you later. And I realized I didn't give her the support she wanted. She just wanted to vent. She just wanted to let it out. And so what I'll do is when she's home, or if I've done it at home and she's stormed up upstairs, I'll wait a bit and then I'll go up and say, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to jump in solution. I didn't give you a chance to explain. I just want to apologize for not recognizing your emotions. So I'm not accepting that I did anything wrong. I'm just saying I didn't listen to you. I'm just saying that I didn't give you time to be yourself and to share your emotions. I just tried to solution it for you. There's different answers that I'll get. Sometimes I get fine, whatever, and that's it. Sometimes I get thanks, I appreciate that. Can we talk? I actually did like your idea. And other times you'll hear you don't have to apologize. I was just having a bad day. And I just reaffirm, no, you're right. I'll come back later when you want to talk, because sometimes they vent at you, or sometimes they're quiet and they don't want to do anything. And sometimes when they say they forgive me, I'm like, well, I wasn't really doing this for forgiveness. I just wanted to let you know I recognize that I didn't listen. And I thought those were really great coping techniques that they told us. And it was good and it was helpful. And as I said, I've tried to employ this. I'm not perfect. So I do sometimes have to go back and say, sorry, I know I kind of overstepped and didn't do that right. And I really wish I had known this years ago, because it makes such a difference when talking with teens. My youngest is taking the advantage of it, and it's worked. We've gone through a lot and we've talked about a lot of stuff, and it has made a difference. We have more conversations. There's more understanding. There are times when she'll snap and I don't have to do anything. She'll come back down and say, hey, sorry, I was just having a bad day. Didn't mean to snap at you. Thanks for listening. She opens up and shares her feelings, and it improves our ability to talk. And it helps me understand, like I'm better able to see some of the signs when she's struggling a bit or when she's anxious. During the course, I also learned to reflect on our different personalities and the different types of people we are and what we struggle with. For example, what matters most to you as a person and what matters most to your kids. So there are some people who it's all about who they are. They want to be successful. They want to be independent. They want to do things on their own. And then there's other people who it's all about who they're with. They're those people pleasers, and they're looking for relationships and being loved and doing stuff. And hopefully I'm explaining that right. But there's two different types of people, and there's different things that will trigger, and there's different things that they will feel. And we all have those emotions. So understanding the type of person you are and what you look for, and the type of person your child or your significant other is and what they're looking for. If you're both opposites and you get into an argument and one person just wants space and to be left alone, but you're the type of person that needs that reassurance, you have to figure out how to juggle that and how to balance that and not make it worse by worrying about, they're mad, they're not talking to me, what do I do? And then you overcompensate. It's the same thing with our kids. Sometimes they're different than you. I'm a very people person. I need that. I want to know that you're okay. I want to know you're going to forgive me. I want to know it's going to be okay, because I'm worried about being unlovable. I'm worried about people not wanting me or not liking me. Those are my characteristics. They're things that I have to cope with and work with. So when my kids need space, I have to remember they're not telling me that they don't love me. They just need space. And it's important to kind of take a look at that. And not every kid wants hugs and kisses and all that stuff, or sit and cuddle. Some of them just want to do their own thing and come and talk to you and share what they did, and that's it. They all eventually get the hugs and they all eventually get the kisses, but there's just different stages, and we have to figure out how to engage with that. With boundaries, we also have to look at how do you create a healthy boundary. I know I tend to be a little too porous. I put the boundary, but then I can easily be swayed out of it. Sometimes you're the opposite. You can be too strict and there are no limits. It's like no exception. This is the boundary. So how do you find that middle ground? And you have to work through that. And these emotion-focused skills training courses can help that. And there's lots of books and there's lots of resources. And it's good to learn that and understand that. It's something, again, I think having it earlier in life, I think in a previous podcast, I referenced the fact that the what to expect when you're expecting was nothing helpful for me because I didn't go through it. I didn't have those experiences. But understanding this type of stuff and how to relate and how to adapt, there are different experiences that change who you are and change how you handle things. And it's not easy, right? This is the first time you're being a parent and that you're going through this. And your kids are going to have all kinds of ideas. They're going to come home and tell you they want to be an astronaut. They're going to come home and tell you they want to go skydiving. They're going to come home and tell you they're going to join a band, right? So how do you cope with that? There may be bigger things, right? We have all kinds of things, different personality types, different likes and interests and values and goals. And how do you create that open discussion so that your children can come and talk to you? I have a daughter who is identified as pansexual and uses a different name now. And that was hard to adjust to. It was hard to not call them by that first name anymore. But that's okay, right? So it's making sure that we're listening to what they need and that we're hearing them out. You have to look at that and figure out how you can cope with it and be open and let them express what they're feeling and offer the best support that you can. What I really work hard to remember is that as much as I'm a first-time parent, they're a first-time kid, all these experiences are new for them. I have a lot of life lessons right now. I'm 52 years old. I've been through a lot. I have a lot of experience that I can relay back on. It doesn't change the fact that I have to figure out how to manage my emotions still. There are still things that will trigger me. There are still things that will upset me and make me become impatient or make me become upset or make me worry. They're going through it for the first time. So they're experiencing the difficulty in finding a job for the first time or job loss for the first time. They're experiencing their first crush and their first heartbreak. You've got a few years on that. So we have to figure out a way to make it so that they can share their experiences and talk. And we want to create that open conversation. We want them to feel safe, comfortable in expressing who they are and how they feel. They're not going to be the same as you. They won't always be like, they won't always like the same things you do. They won't always want to do the same things you do, even if they did originally. My kids and I used to all listen to the same music. We would dance around and everything. And now it's like, ew, you want to listen to that? I'm like, you used to listen to it all the time. Nope, we're listening to this now. And there's days where I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I can't handle this. I like most music. There's very little I don't like, but they've managed to find a couple of things that I'm like, nope, not today. Turn it off, not today. But you find ways to deal with that. There are so many resources out there. There are so many places you can get help and books. Look for different options. Don't assume that it's a one size fits all. Every child is different, and it's really important that we look at those and try and find things. Find ways to engage your kids and what interests them. Engage them in planning family outings. Ask them about what they want to do. So for example, right now I'm planning a wedding. And so it's been a lot of discussion on what do you want to do? Like, this is what I want. This is a second marriage. This is just a way for us to celebrate as a family that we're joining these two, this bigger family together kind of thing. And you guys can wear what you want. Well, my youngest, who's spearheading a lot of the research and stuff, she's like, nope, we need a color theme. So we've picked a color theme. But if one of them wants to wear a pantsuit, then wear a pantsuit. If one of them wants to wear a skirt, wear a skirt. You want to wear a dress, wear a dress. You like that style? Great. You want a different color? Perfect. Let them express themselves. Engage them in what it is. I know when I started dating again, I had the conversation. I knew the different personality types. So one of my daughters, I actually took out long before I told the other two that Dan was going to move in with us. And we went and we talked to make sure she was going to be okay with it, because it's not that she didn't like him, but she was dealing with a lot. And I wanted to make sure she knew. So I had to be aware of the different personality types. I had to pay attention to how they needed to feel engaged and part of the decisions that were being made. I still asked the other two, but instead of asking them as a group, I knew I had to ask her individually. She needed that time to react in case it was different than what her sisters were going to say. Now, she was happy and she was supportive of it as well. So it all worked out in the end. But it was a discussion that we had when we look at doing trips now, right? It's like, I'm thinking we're going to do this. How does that sound? What do you want to do when we're there? What places? Like, I don't just determine the meals. I'm engaging them. Like, what do you want to eat? Like, what kind of stuff do you want? Like, I can just buy the usual, or is there something? Letting them have a say. Like, I can cook all the meals, or do you want? I have one daughter who likes to cook, and she's like, can I cook the meal tonight? Sure. It's hard sometimes because that's my kind of calming activity. But if she wants to do it, go knock your socks off, right? And find ways to accommodate that. But it's really important that we try and find different resources and different ways of talking with them. For all of you, whether you're a parent, a caregiver, or a grandparent, a babysitter, a daycare person, an aunt, an uncle, take the time to talk. Take the time to actively listen. Observe what's going on. Look at how they feel. Look at how they react at different things. And ask what would help them. Ask them what they need. Sometimes they're going to just want space. And it's not the best. I've always had family dinners together. And I'll have nights where they're like, I'm having a really bad day. Can I just go eat supper in my room? Okay. Is it ideal? No. Do they do it every day? Absolutely not. But some days I can see that their emotions are getting the better of them and they need that time alone. Sometimes they don't want to watch what everybody else is watching and they just want space. Sometimes they want to sit in the car with their headphones on and just be at peace. Try and find ways to understand what they're dealing with and acknowledge that life can be hard. It's scary. It can be unfair sometimes. Whether we agree with them or not, it doesn't matter because it's their emotions and it's how they're feeling and it's based on their experiences. So we need to kind of guide them through that and help them learn to cope with those emotions. How they feel is theirs. We can't change that, but we can help them understand how to cope with those emotions and how to guide them as they process it and learn what their triggers are and what they need to do differently. Learn what coping skills they need to manage some of their emotions and just how to deal with the changes and challenges that happen in life. I hope this was a little helpful, and I'll be sure to include in some items maybe in the comments. If you have a great resource that you've read, I'll add in a couple that I've read as well, and different courses and things that I've seen. So please join the conversation, be part of the community, and share your insight and what worked and what didn't work. If you have experiences you think others could benefit from, add your comments. And most importantly, do not forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out on a future episode. I hope you found this helpful. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Hey, you're still here. Have you checked out the next episode? It's a really good one. Lots of great stories. I think you should check it out. You'll enjoy, and make sure to subscribe so you get notified when new ones drop.